Hey guys, Santa here, and today I brought another deck profile. It's Pokemon. This is a very fun deck, which is to say, it's not very good. But it's super fun to play if you are playing around with your friends. This can definitely take them by surprise, and honestly, this can do some pretty decent damage. Today we are talking about Dipplin. What can you really say about Dipplin? He's not a super strong Pokemon with 80 HP. And his main attack, Do the Wave, does 20 damage for each of your bench Pokemon. That's not a whole lot. But what makes it special? There's some stuff. We'll find out together. Alright, let's go. Typical YouTube stuff. If you like the video, like the video. If you like the deck, like the video. Drop a sub if you want to. We do Pokemon all the freaking time. Super fun. Join the ride. Join the vibes. Let's go. Alright, so we play 4 copies of Dipplin. As I mentioned, it has an attack, Do the Wave. Does 20 damage for each of your benched Pokemon. Pretty decent. It's 100 damage, which isn't all that much, but if you read its ability, which you can't quite see on that one, maybe you can see it better here. Festival Lead. If Festival Grounds is in play, this Pokemon can use an attack it has twice. Twice. If the attack knocks out a Pokemon, you can attack again after your opponent chooses a new active. So this is super cool. It takes its 100 measly damage and bumps it up to 200, but we have other ways to increase it even more. More on that later. Gotta play 4 copies of Applin. I sincerely don't know which one of these two is better, so I'm just running both. They have 40 HP, which is not great. With Dipplin only having 80 HP, if we were able to have like a 70 HP Applin, then maybe this deck would be a little bit better. But as it sits right now, it's basically Dragapult bait. But you can knock out a Dragapult with this deck, and I'll tell you how in a bit. Run 3 copies of Seaking. Also has the Festival Lead ability, meaning that it's rapid draw for 60 damage and draw 2 cards attack. Not really that great, but when you turn it into 120 damage and draw 4, it becomes quite the card. Go along with the Seaking, we are playing 3 copies of Goldeen, also with the Festival Lead ability. You don't really attack with this guy, but it's nice to have a basic Pokemon that has the Festival Lead ability. It's attack Whirlpool for 2 colorless energy. Flip a coin. If heads, discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. Swings for 10. Festival Lead makes it 20, but again, we're not really attacking with that guy. Plus, with its energy cost being 2 and Seaking's being 1, we generally only attach 1 energy to the Goldeen so that we can get into our Seaking. Now, the reason Festival Lead is so great is because of Boom Boom Groove on Thwackey. This ability says, once during your turn, if your active Pokemon has the Festival Lead ability, you can search your deck for any card you want and add it straight to your hand. Then shuffle your deck. This is really good. Again, that's why Goldeen having Festival Lead is so important. Because if you get a Thwackey and a Goldeen, or a Seaking, or a Dipplin on board, you just search whatever you want. So we're running 3 copies. You could run 4. Space is kind of tight in this deck, despite being not that great of a deck. You'd be surprised. Run 3 copies of Grookey. This guy does have 70 HP, so he can survive a Dragapult Phantom Dive, which is really nice. We're running 1 copy of Badoo. I know you guys are tired of seeing Badoo, but you gotta do what you gotta Badoo, am I right? That's so stupid, whatever. That is all for the Pokemon count. We are not running any EX Pokemon, because this is a single prize deck, and that is one of its highest benefits. We are, however, running 4 copies of Buddy Poffin. Super good. This gets you into your Applins, this gets you a Badoo, this gets you your Grookeys, this gets you into Goldeens. This can search any basic in your deck, which is really strong. A lot of times you will be searching your Badoo with this so that you can Itchy Pollen your opponent to be able to set up on the next turn. Moving on, playing 4 copies of Bug Catching Set. I really wish we had a better grass support, but you look at the top 7 cards of your deck, reveal up to 2 of any combination of grass Pokemon and grass energy. Add them to your hand, shuffle them back into the deck for the rest. Pretty good. A lot of times you'll have to use Bug Catching Set later in the game. I say later in the game, it's basically turn 2. To be able to search into your Dipplins. Because we don't really have any trouble finding the Applins or the Grookeys with the 4 Buddy Poffin and these 2 copies of Nest Ball that we also run. Very good to search out basics. Also run 1 copy of Ultra Ball. Because we have Thwackey, we can search straight into the Ultra Ball if we wanted to. But if you have Thwackey, then you could just search into whatever card you want. So we don't really need to do that. But the Ultra Ball is nice to be able to search your evolution Pokemon. There is also a world where potentially you run Jacques Or Brock's Scouting, I bet, is really, really good in this deck. That card is not out yet, however, so we're balling. Nest balling, ultra balling. Anyway, whatever. Running one copy of Countercatcher. You could definitely run a second one. You know, being a slower deck like this, you often do play from behind, so the Countercatcher is really, really good. Playing one copy of Super Rod. This lets you just get your stuff back. Again, your Pokemon are pretty weak, so they are going to get knocked out. So Super Rod is just nice to be able to put them back into the deck, as well as your energy cards. Play one copy of Switch. I really like the one copy of Switch. We are playing Kieran in this deck as well, but a lot of times you don't want to use Kieran's switching effect, so having an extra switch that you can search on Thwackey, very, very strong. Playing one copy of Earthen Vessel. This was a last-minute inclusion, but honestly, a lot of the times, you really need one energy to attack, because your Seaking only requires one energy, and your Dipplin also only requires one energy, but with us playing a pretty slim energy count, you kind of need to be able to search them sometimes, so having the Vessel is pretty good. That is all for our item count. Got a decent amount of supporters. Let's get into them. We got 4 copies of Arven. Super strong. One of the best cards in this deck is a tool. So being able to search your deck for an item card and a Pokemon tool is super beneficial. Item cards, as we just saw, are all pretty good items as well. So you definitely search yourself a Buddy Poffin, which is generally going to be one of the things you try to search the most. Running 2 copies of Iono. This is a pretty clunky deck sometimes. Which is not to say that it's a bad build. It might be a bad build. I don't think there's any good builds that really exist for this deck. If there was, you'd see it at tournaments, but this is not a particularly powerful deck. As I said at the top, this is a very fun deck, so playing Iono helps increase the consistency a little bit. As I mentioned with the Super Rod, we are playing 2 copies of Lana's Aid. All of the Pokemon in here are single prizers, which means they don't have rule boxes, which is to say that Lana's Aid puts any 3 combination of Pokemon that don't have rule box and basic energy cards back into your hand. Very strong in a deck like this, being able to get either your attackers back, get energy back, get a Badoo back and slap it straight down on the board. Super strong. I'm running 1 copy of Kieran, as I alluded to earlier. You can either switch your active Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon, does come up sometimes, or its secondary effect, during this turn, attacks used by your Pokemon do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX and V, but there's no Vs in the format anymore. Well, in a couple weeks at least. This is rotation ready. That does not mean that this deck is going to slay post-rotation, but there's nothing that is cycling out in rotation in this deck, so it will be ready to play for the next year. And who knows, we might get better support. We might get more cards. Play 1 copy of Black Belt's Training. I'm considering swapping the Kieran out for a second copy, because this basically mimics Kieran's second effect, except instead of doing 30 extra damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX, it does 40 extra damage, which is important. I'm also playing 1 copy of Colress's Tenacity. I have found this to be a pretty good card in this deck. Like I've mentioned before, all of your attackers only require 1 energy to attack, so being able to search your Festival Grounds and a Grass energy, super strong. Well, as strong as it gets with this deck. Alright, moving on. Play 4 copies of Festival Grounds. You absolutely need this card. Protects your Pokemon from special conditions. So each Pokemon that has an energy attached, both yours and your opponent's, recovers from all special conditions and cannot be affected by status conditions. This can be nice if you're going against like a deck that tries to use Pecharunt, like my build of Charizard. If you want to check out that deck profile, bam, check it out over there. But honestly, a lot of the times you just have Festival Grounds so that you can use your Festival Lead abilities. Now for the tools, we do play a few tools. We're playing 1 TM Evolution. This is really good first turn to be able to Buddy Poffin into a couple Grookeys, evolve them straight into Thwackeys, so the next turn you can start doing your searches. Maximum Belt, arguably the best card in the deck. Attacks used by the Pokemon this card is attached to do 50 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX. Super good. Defiance Band, very similar. If you're behind in prizes, you can do 30 extra damage, which is pretty strong as well. Moving on, play 6 energies, and that is the deck. Now, what makes this deck good? I won't lie to you, it's not much. But if you have Festival Lead, and Festival Grounds, and a Maximum Belt, and let's see, a Black Belt's Training. This is where it gets kind of kooky. So if you have these guys, and you have a full bench, your Dipplin can do 150. But if you have Black Belt's Training, it does 190 instead. But it attacks twice. So you can do an astounding 380 damage with a Dipplin, which is really, really strong. Or if you have a Seaking attached instead, you can do 300 flat, which is pretty good. 300 damage and drawing 4 cards is pretty strong, if you ask me. Sorry. Throat gets dry talking through all these. But that is the Dipplin deck. Is this the best deck in the world? No. Is Dipplin one of the cutest Pokemon in the world? I think so. Alright. Once again, this is a very casual deck. Very fun deck. This isn't going to be winning any tournaments. However, in Japan, it has won an occasional City League, which generally don't get to be very huge events, but it is worth noting. That is all I got for you for the Dipplin deck. I hope you guys enjoy it. Give this deck a try. It's super, super silly. You're going to have a fun time playing it. Yeah. Attack twice. Draw 4 cards. Do what you gotta do. Black Belt's Training. Maximum Belt. Etc. If you guys liked the video, drop a like. Drop a sub. I have been Santa. You guys have been awesome. And I will see you tomorrow for more Pokemon. Bye, guys.